invite you behind the scenes to explain more of what we're doing that we have made together.
We really liked the stylized drop-down game.
To me, it's the next big step in the new heroes, game modes, major story beats.
With competitive and PvE, I see Overwatch for all of my friends.
Bring that cinematic experience into the game.
You can invest in your heroes and grow. I'm super geeked out about Overwatch 2.
I can't wait. It just gets better and better.
There are some things that we just can't do without a sequel.
We always want so we're having a lot of fun coming up with the Overwatch version of Rome.
One of the most exciting things for me is the early building of these maps, where we get to sit down together with key people from the environment team, level designers, effects groups. We'll spend some time talking about moments in the game that we really want to see, like the Colosseum or a grand view of the hills of Rome in the backdrop. And then we'll go back and do a paint over, or we'll do a concept painting of certain things based on that.
We try to draw inspiration on a map set in Italy.
There's a lot of the empire that it used to be. So we brought some of that back. Some of the things that are destroyed in real life, we kind of rebuilt in a kind of an Overwatch style.
It's one of the most beautiful pieces of environment art that I think we're really striving to make it as authentic.
There's a lot of amazing buildings and architecture pieces that just, especially for artists, stands out a lot, and they usually use this kind of the 1920s, 1950s.
We started in an area, there's some smaller shops there, there's a fire station, little pizza places and things that people that are familiar with New York City will either recognize or maybe see the reference that we're trying to make with some of our different locations. It feels like something you haven't.
Well, we should move on.
We're also, for example, currently in our internal builds, the tank heroes all have knockback reduction against them. Damage dealing heroes have a movement speed bonus, which is great for heroes have automatic healing that kicks in after they haven't taken damage for a while, very similar to Mercy's passive, but a little bit of a lower rate.
Overwatch 2 PvP is a change to the tank role entirely. That's applied to all of the tanks. We want to try to make them more toe-to-toe brawlers and less characters that just stand back and protect other people.
We've given him 2 charges of fire strikes, so we can throw fire strikes a lot more aggressively and more often. Also his charge, he's able to cancel it now, so you can, not quite turn a corner, but you can definitely more accurately pin targets, and because you can cancel it, it allows you to use it without feeling like you're going to sacrifice all of your positioning, everything to get there. He's almost more terrible.
They might not ship, that's just the reality, but the changes that we're trying right now are to try to embrace more of that instinct that players have when they want to play a big, burly character.
When we first started working on it, they have kind of new audio pass and a new kind of feel and visual effect when you hit things.
That means the way the gun feels in your hands. You could feel the ammo running out as you're getting lower on the clip. We've really tried. Now we're sporting outdoor, urban outdoor, warehouse tails, tight tunnels, small rooms.
As you shoot, so you can really feel every single shot leaving the chamber. And there's a lot of subtle little tweaks we have. Everything from making sure that the camera shakes are crisp, making sure that if you get shot, exactly these tight indicators show up on the outside of your reticle. Take 76, for example. What we wanted to do in Overwatch 2 with his weapon was make it really feel incredibly powerful, and that happens with a bunch of different elements that mix together. A lot of that comes down to this camera shake technology, where every time you fire the weapon, it gives that extra bite to every single shot out of the chamber.
You guys got a sneak peek of Sojourn from last BlizzCon, and she's actually quickly at this point become a lot of people's favorites in-house. When we look back at Overwatch when it was originally created, for example, Pharah was based on a rocket launcher hero. Widowmaker is clearly like kind of the sniper. It's so much fun in the playtest to have this really powerful shot that can, rip through enemies if you really are accurate with it. And
one of the things that's the hardest to wrap your head around if you've never played one of them
The goal around hero missions is for these to be this co-op PvE.
Forward to a game that I can play hours and hours with my friends who aren't in competitive, and it's also something that I'm interested in.
Hero missions are the cons playing as they are leveling up their heroes, and so for a system like this to really sing, we don't want players to feel like they're just in this grind to get to the top.
And there's a
The goal is to make hundreds of hero missions. We've explored a lot of different ways. So have like different sets of enemy units that people will be fighting against. And there's different hero mission types. At the same time, heroes in all of the multiplayer maps that we've done. And we're also adding.
It's a huge challenge for the art team, recognize, and we have to add a lot more art and level design to it.
In this one hero mission playtest, we on it. Suddenly that gate opened and I saw a of King's Row that I had never seen before.
You may be playing a payload game type, and the payload made this out instead of going the usual route.
That being a special moment.
LAN made a prototype of a sandstorm on the Temple of Anubis map.
With that, but it looked awesome.
We looked at this.
So we put some new technology in place that allows us to do this dynamic. Midway through the mission, suddenly this sandstorm or heavy weather would show up.
It made the world just feel...
There's a sunset, daytime, nighttime, but depending on where you are in the world, California or Hollywood would have what we call a California sun. There's a great African sun that happens there. You start to get a sense of space and mood. This is what really...
For me, the dynamic world's exciting. Just seeing these dramatic landscapes, the wind and the atmosphere blowing by, experience for the player.
Before you start a mission, it's nighttime in Necropolis, or there's a sandstorm in Necropolis. Players can make some comp choices. Characters like Hanzo or Widowmaker start to be a little more valuable because they have up through the sand more clearly.
Or we could talk about the objectives. Players are being asked to do different things from one hero mission to the next.
We have Gather and Return, where you're trying to go and grab these different canisters to kind of safeguard them so they don't go off and affect the population in a negative way. World where on the one hand you're trying to split up and go grab all these canisters to be as efficient as possible, but at the same time now you're having these sort of special enemy units spawn that are really difficult, and if you kind of get caught by yourself, it turns into a pretty bad situation really quickly. It's been like a very different way to interact with the Overwatch universe.
We're exploring ideas, and just internally we have names like Wall of Death. All these new mechanics and enemies for people to experience. Players will be able to jump in night after night, play different hero missions, and then work through the progression system.
Where like Meg became the rolling snowball, which was
Now with the skill tree, you can have fun every night doing different things and kind of experimenting.
Yeah, the talent system is like 76's tree, and as you're leveling and picking new talents, you're starting to feel your hero change. We've had some pretty hilarious versions of his biotic field travels with him. It also repulses enemies, where 76 is like running through spaces, pushing enemies.
And we get to really take the gloves off and do crazy things. And we've had Mercy be able to area effect res their whole team at once at super long range through walls.
It's been like Soldier 76's rifle or fire attack like what Reinhardt's Flame Strike does. And maybe you're doing freeze damage or electrical damage, but it gives the animators, the animations are going to change to show them freezing and shattering. And if you shock someone with a lightning attack, they can shake in place and stun, maybe chain to other enemies. All sorts of stuff to make you feel like you're controlling the battlefield.
The first time I opened up the talent tree systems, it was like, oh my gosh, this is speaking my love language. Like, where do I want to invest and how am I going to play this character?
Yes,
was to make the null sector enemy units more engaging.
The simplest version would be something like the Breacher.
It was built to do one thing, slowly and methodically marches, and the bomb opens up like a flower, being up, and you hear this awesome sound, and you know you have a little bit of...
We have units like the Slicers, which you guys have seen before. Sometimes they run really fast. We have a guy we're experimenting with right now who flies and drops these bombs that create these kind of ever-expanding smoke fields that you have to escape from because they're super deadly. So you really get to use your mobility options to kind of escape that.
There's things like the polar. You could be moving through these darker alleys, and as soon as you hit
Character that's blindfolded, 3 orbs that circle around her as her eyes, and orbs around her head as a big tell. Awesome, like anticipation of the hair opening up so you know what's about to happen.
Front. Normally, he fires his gun, he dies pretty simply. If you fight elite grunts, his weapon fires in a burst fire pattern. It's very deadly if you're close. And if you manage to take them out, they don't just die right away. They instead can crawl on the ground towards you, and you try to back away because if they get to you, they can explode.
Artillery at BlizzCon. We're all just staring at this.
We intend for players to shoot these guns off, but currently
We changed the design, we changed the animation, and we go back and forth and just continually iterate.
we're gonna just delete half of these damage states, so now it's super readable.
From an animation standpoint, just did this really nice kickback. The tip of the barrel opens up when it's about to fire and shifts into place and boom!
And you can see the guns on the side, and as you're shooting the guns, they're actually visibly taking damage, and then you can blow them off and it reacts and kind of stumbles to the side and really makes you feel like you're there, and it's super fun.
These are evil killing machines intent on marching you down. The way you're going to stop them, really making sure that when they take a hit, it feels like their whole body has been punched, almost like hit by a truck. That's what really sells this fantasy we call chain hit reactions. Oftentimes you'll find Null Sector bunched up, marching maybe a half a dozen units abreast. You expect if you shoot one, they're gonna knock into their buddies. So we make that happen.
The theory kind of going in was like, you want to preserve the essence of your hero clothing. What that really is using very techie fabrics, as well as having very intricate but functional straps designed in a way. With McCree, we took a couple of different approaches. He's got this classic cowboy look that it's really hard to mess with because it's a character. But as a concept artist, you always want to. We did identify as Red Serape as the main thing for McCree. We also tried, we didn't really want to mess with that too much because that's a very iconic part of him, but more classic cowboy beard. And it really gives him a nice kind of like a more aged look. We didn't want to change her silhouette too much. It was more about experimenting on different colors. So it was of white and blue. One of the things that we wanted to update on Farah was her visor. Instead of being completely opaque and reflective, we tried a little bit more of a transparent approach. And Reaper was actually the ones I was very excited to work on because I could see a lot of potential in how we can integrate his cloak and his cowl, his silver arms, more layers to his jacket. But the thing you'll notice immediately is that it's now completely silver. Instead of the bone white, he's got this like almost like deadly edgy silver that just gives him that classic Reaper look ideas. We tried things like a more insectoid approach, treasure hunter. So we kind of steered it back towards one of the more cyberpunk looking ones, almost like a futuristic femme fatale, which is basically what Widowmaker is, but she even feels more upgraded. So I'm super glad that we went down this route. We played with different hairstyles too. Widowmaker has the really, and we really liked the hairstyle on one of the designs that was more of a parade, and it was really interesting look that also preserves Widowmaker's original silhouette with that long ponytail.
Now that we have this cloth tech, we're going to be able to make some really cool, unique silhouettes that will help them stand out from other heroes. And what I mean by that is we're going to be able to get really close to these characters, and it's going to feel really cool. It is do more things that we haven't really been able to do before.
It's just been so inspiring to watch the team try things that we've never tried before.
Really expand what Overwatch even means to our players. How globally spread is it?
The story and franchise development group, the big story is that we were going to tell for this game.
We have a lot of interaction with them. Story missions.
It's been really great to see this collaboration grow and develop. The story did into our missions than it ever really has been before. Heroes get dialogue for a given mission. We have NPCs. We have multiple hero choices.
We have all events that are happening that are driving players to interact with each other or parts of the environment or other characters.
The world of Overwatch is this bright, shiny future.
The different challenges that these characters are going to have to overcome in Overwatch 2. So what we had to do was literally strip it down to those bare bones of what's again, but they're not allowed to be doing.
We turn over different versions of what the Overwatch 2 story campaign could be.
And we basically
would just write every day story beats with the characters and who was doing it.
We had these giant sticky notes, and each one of them would be a mission with a bunch of notes on it. You know, somebody say,
direction of where we wanted this process to go.
ultimately we come up with something that we think is right for the game.
Make it right and make it better.
Because the scale of this story is so huge, it takes place over the whole world basically. It just requires a constant iteration.
From writing, we go to storyboards. From there, it'll go to a previs department where they'll start to flesh it out in 3D. Once we've kind of figured out our camera work and our cinematography, that'll then go to the animation department. And then we end up going right into the game engine.
One of our challenges was to figure out how to integrate.
So if the intro cinematic ends with this huge
character, whatever we're crafting, we want to make sure that the player's experience going from the cinematic to the gameplay is seamless, and it feels like,
if you played our demo, one of the buildings explodes, and so that kind of event needs to happen as you're running by, and you need to have it timed. Interact with our characters.
The news that we have now are allowing us to push our storytelling farther.
What's also really powerful about choreo is that, if somebody has an idea, they can mock.
Casey was able to quickly put a really rough prototype in choreo. And Philip would come in and on the fly, he's making quick changes. They play tested something that would normally take weeks. It was done in like a matter of days.
Each story mission has its own custom map built for it. And these
biggest maps. And it's a fun map because it has a few story beats that we've taken from recent comics and characters in the game.
We've written a history so that the cities feel lived in. And I think that informs the artists so that they know like what it is.
It was our chance to show Torbjorn's workshop. We created a space that, so there's, step ladders and scalable tables. As if we were Torbjorn. Molten steel is pouring out of walls. It's pretty epic when you walk into it. Toronto was under siege by Null Sector when the players arrived here. So as you make your way through the level, the snow is slowly building up. Suddenly by the end, the characters are caught in this and they must fight their way through.
In Overwatch 2, we want to give you choice to be able to play this character or that character. So we're designing a lot of systems around how their relationships develop over the course of the story missions in the campaign.
We have a cast of many characters, all on screen, all at the same time, working together in ways that we've never actually seen. We've always thought about it and hoped for it.
If you happen to have Genji and Mercy in the second mission of the game, you might get different dialogue that's about their relationship.
And I really can't wait to see how people react to it.
I wish people could see how many people are involved when it comes to something like telling the story of Overwatch. It doesn't just...
We've been developing what we hope is one of the best stories ever.
And have it be a really fun experience. And I think
felt that it was pretty close to what we wanted.
Then we could send it to our writers' rooms. The writers' room.
The thing that I'm most excited about is that over to the players.
Want to create something that...
For Overwatch 2,
it's a huge undertaking.
The new to Richard.
We are live.
I'm really looking forward to being able to world of Overwatch for our players.
We're really this epic story.
It takes time.
We just love bringing so many cool characters. It's just a blast working on it.
Our goal is for worthy successor to the first game to be the next evolution.
We have big plans, so thank you.
We're gonna cross the finish line, and
I hope people just end up
captured. I'm jumping in, I'm playing, let's go.